Good evening, welcome to 30-minute pipe bomb. Myself and Mick, we've got your hook up tonight. Lee has got some family issues again to deal with. We'll say our prayers for that one. Rich, again, Dickie isn't with us tonight, again, family issues. Joey T will be getting this fired over afterwards and do what he does best with the show. I know normally shows like this are a lot of fun, we have a laugh with them, but if we can tonight, we're going to, well, if we can, we're going to, it's our show.
We can do what we like.
Yeah, we're going to touch on a more serious topic tonight. I don't know if any of you have seen it or aware of it, but ESPN did a documentary. They do a documentary series called E60, and they touch on a lot of different topics and things like that. And they touched on Scott Hall, and they did a little 18-minute show. Not chronicling his rise, chronicling his fall, and his fall from grace. And it's 18 minutes out. If you're a wrestling fan, if you listen to this and you say you're a wrestling fan, it's 18 minutes out of your life. Watch it. It's on YouTube, and yeah, I'm actually speechless about it.
It's sad. I mean, it's sad. It's upsetting, but it's also sad to see what he has become. There's been a lot of talk about it because the first bit, it shows him coming out for an indie show, and he has to be helped to the ring. He has to be helped into the ring, and then he falls over, and he's on the floor. He's looking quite. He's looking very out of shape.
Looking ill.
He's looking riddled with God knows what. It turns out, I mean, he's saying his mum and dad were both alcoholics. Their mum and dad were both alcoholics, so he didn't really have a choice in the matter. I mean, I call bullshit on that. I don't believe it's a hereditary thing. You don't have to have a drink. I know that's a bit controversial. You don't have to pop all them pills that he pops. But growing up, I loved Razor Ramon. I thought he was excellent. Then the Outsiders, then the NWO. Loved them. And to see this is actually upsetting, I think.
I find it's a tragic tale of self-destruction.
Yes.
He chose this lifestyle. There's bits in it. I mean, yeah, there's a crucial point in his life when he was working in a bar. And you've seen it in films where, people are battling over a gun and someone gets shot dead. Well, it happened to Scott Hall in real life. And I can see why an incident like that would change it. And,
But again, I think you have a choice.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you can go one way or you can go the other way. He's gone the way he's gone. This guy has had, considering some of the picks in the Hall of Fame, arguably a Hall of Fame career. The NWO.
Well, yeah,
we're the biggest thing
on the show. He talks himself about being awesome, all round awesome in the wrestling world. Yeah. He had in-ring ability. He had charisma, and he was awesome on the mic.
Yeah.
And he talks about that, and he says he doesn't want to blow his own trumpet, but toot. And Kevin Nash says it as well.
Yeah.
And I've heard other wrestlers, not on this show, but not on the E60 show, but in other interviews.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels, besides being a friend, looked up to him.
Yeah. Big Scott Hall, wasn't he, in the AWA?
Yeah, and Big Scott Hall. It covers that for a little bit as well.
Yeah.
He looks a bit like a gay cowboy without the hat, but still.
That was the look in the early 80s. It was like the Magnum T8 look.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Everyone, I think every Fed back in the early 90s were going with the Magnum T8, trying to get their own.
But you watch it, and it's just, it is upsetting. And I used upsetting before, and I'm not going to apologise for using it again, but it did actually upset me to watch it. there's bits where you cringe.
I mean, it's amazing to think that the lifestyle of a wrestler hasn't changed from, you know, Dusty Rhodes' day, from Vern Gagne's day. They go on the road. They are a travelling carnival show. They're on the road 250, 300 days a year. They don't spend more than a night in a town. You've just got to read wrestlers' timelines on tweets. I've banged this drum constantly. You know, just finish. You know, you read CM Punk's Twitter, JR's Twitter. You know, just to name two. And their tweets are, you know, especially on a Monday, Tuesday night, are constantly full of tweets of, right, just closed down, wrapped up a live show, 3 hours in the car now to the next town. They're not sleeping in the hotel over the night. They're going to sleep in the next set town when they get there. And the life of a pro wrestler hasn't changed much from Scott Hall's day. But what has changed is how they live the lifestyle now. You look at the likes of, I know CM Punk's straight edge, and I know for a fact I've seen YouTube videos, and I know John Cena does like to have a drink. I'm not saying, you know, he goes out and he does the whole Jake Roberts things and stuff like that. But wrestlers now, they will go, they will have a drink, they go to, you know, they don't do what Scott Hall did, what Eddie Guerrero did, what Rick Rude did, what Kurt Hennig did.
What most of the 80s and 90s wrestlers
who were dead did. Mm-hmm. There's a bit in the documentary, and it really shocked me because I've never heard, you know, everyone's talked about Shawn Michaels and everyone knows he had these drug problems, but no one had ever discussed it.
No one had actually come out and said it, had they?
And Scott Hall turns around, and I think I've got the quote right, me and Shawn were rooming one night, and I turned around and went, Shawn, and he went, yeah, is your heart still beating? Yeah. Do you want to go halves on this? Sorry, we don't swear much on the show, but fuck me. If my heart's still beating, I'm going to take another line of coke, I'm going to take an E, I'm going to take a Soma, I'm going to smoke a joint. You know, the guy should be, if any wrestlers are listening to this, you know, I'd love to think they do, watch it, because it's an 18-minute advert on what your life will be.
Yeah. I think that there's a part in it as well, which, again, shocked me. And we had a little discussion before we came on, so just, like, we mentioned it, and he talks about all these pills he takes, and there's the cameras showing all these tablets, and there's like 22
bottles, yeah.
Bottles of pills on his table. And he says, with a straight face, like the most natural thing to say in the world, he went, you know what, look at all these pills, not one of them gives me a buzz anymore. And that to me is fucked up. That to me is absolutely crazy. I don't know. It is shocking, really. It is. I don't really. He's taking these pills to stay alive because of these various conditions he's got due to all the years of abuse. Yeah, and he's talking about them not giving him a buzz. That's not what they're for, Scott, mate. They're there to keep you breathing. They're there to keep you able to walk and talk. They're not there to get you off your tits.
We've discussed in previous podcasts that I know I've said it and Mick said it, Lee, Dickie, we've all said it. Scott Hall, I believe, would be an amazing mentor in WWE or TNA as a road agent. Scott Hall had good matches. He had a decent wrestling mind. He knew how the business was run. He was the first guy, remember, you all know your history of the NWO. It wasn't Kevin Nash they used first. It was Scott. It was Scott Hall that started the Outsiders NWO thing. Why? Kevin Nash, as good as he is and as big as he is, isn't as good on the mic as Scott Hall. Everyone knew Scott Hall had left. Everyone knew why Scott Hall was leaving. And I'd like to believe between him and Bischoff came up with let's make it look like we haven't left. The Outsiders storyline, when that very first begun, and I remember you hear marks all over America, and you know, there was the comments were amazing. It was like, has Vince really sent Hall and Nash to finish WCW? And my voice just went high pitched there for some reason. I don't know why.
And this was before they made, was internet out in '96?
Very
I think you have to be rich to have internet in '96.
We're going to have probably like one rich person who listens to this going, actually, yes, I had the internet back then. It was like dial-up internet was going nuts. You'd
hear about stuff 2-3 weeks after it happened if you didn't have access to see it on the TV.
And especially with WCW Night Show, because it was shown on TCM in the UK and you were a week or two behind.
Yeah.
Because Goldberg had been world champion for about a month before he beat Hogan in Britain. Stuff like that. But again, the Outsider storyline, I think, arguably stands up as one of the best wrestling storylines of the last 25 years. And, it let WCW...
I'd just say, I mean, a little slightly off topic, but I'd say it was the most shocking. Hulk Hogan was never ever going to be a heel.
No.
Do you know what I mean? When he come down, he come to save the day, as normal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
back to Scott. It's, for me, I'd like to say it's a very cautionary tale. And this is a guy who I truly believe, sad as it sounds, if he doesn't get help, I'm not doing a Deadpool here, but I think before the end of 2012, we're going to be sat on this podcast discussing Scott Hall's death. And I truly, truly believe that, and that's a heavy heart, really.
Yeah, you've got to watch it to see how bad he looks. And I don't mean he's 50 odd years of age now, so I'm not expecting to have the body he did in like when he was in the NWO, when he was in the Outsiders.
But he looks like an old.
He looks
man.
About 80. He's sitting there and he's talking, and you can hear Scott Hall, you can hear Razor Ramon. He even does a little Razor Ramon.
If you shut your eyes.
Oh yeah, it's like you're watching an old episode of Raw or an old episode of Night Show.
And then you'd open them,
and it's like his granddad's on the TV. Yeah. It's not nice.
If you haven't seen it, just go to YouTube and type in Scott Hall ESPN or Scott Hall E:60.
I think if you type in Scott Hall, it's the first thing that pops up. To be honest,
as I said, it lasts about 18-19 minutes. I don't agree with a lot of stuff Bischoff says, but he got that spot on. Wrestling isn't killing Scott Hall. Scott Hall is killing Scott Hall. And that's the truest statement I heard in that whole thing. Hogan was on there giving it his whole sycophantic crap, like he usually does. I mean, I'd love to. I know it won't happen, but I'd be very interested to see how much help his friends have given him. I don't doubt Sean. I mean, Stephanie's on the documentary and says we've paid more money in the WWE sponsored rehab scheme. We've spent more money on Scott Hall than any other wrestler.
He's been in 10 times and they've spent into the six figures. Now, that's as far as she goes into it. She doesn't give actual figures. But
I think it's remarkable that anyone from WWE actually agreed to take part, I think.
Yeah.
In case you don't know about the drug program that WWE have, everyone knows about the wellness violations and the wellness policies and things like that. But WWE also have a sideline that anyone who's ever worked in World Wrestling Entertainment, be it for a week, a month, 20 years, if you have a drug problem and if you have a drug addiction and you want to go to rehab... It's not even just drink, is it? It's drink, drugs, depressants, and it's anything, prescription meds, anything. If you've got any kind of addiction and you want treated and you want help for it, WWE will pay for the rehab. Even if you haven't worked for the company for 10 years. I know Scott Hall came back for a month.
He hasn't, has he?
He had a month, 6 weeks. He had, what I'd have to say, was an awful match with Steve Austin at WrestleMania.
Oh, it was an awful match. You can tell he was off his tits on something, whether it be drink or whether it be some sort of pill. He wasn't sober, shall we say. Stephanie covers that. She says, we brought him back in the NWO and we were hoping he'd bring back what he had previously with the company, and he didn't. So after 6 weeks or so, they did mutually you know,
agreed
leave. Yeah, but I mean that just means he got fired for being pissed and whatnot. It's sad. There's also a part where his ex-wife's on it. I mean, obviously we don't know the ins and outs of their relationship, but she seems to be very bitter towards him, which is understandable. You know, she talks about how he chose wrestling over his family, which again, every wrestler does.
Wrestling's a very selfish business.
If you're on the road for 300 days a year wrestling, you haven't got much time for your family. So it's not a case, I don't think, of he chose them, or usually it's not a case of they're choosing the business over the family. They're providing for the family. But there's bits now with his son. It shows that it says in one part he's only spoken like 3 times in 3 years, and it shows a bit now where Scott is now training his son Cody to be a wrestler. This was back in March and April.
Of this year. Last year.
May, something like that this year.
If you don't read the wrestling sites too much, it has a sad end. It didn't last. Scott, drinking, drug taking, got to such a point where he was in no fit state to train his own son. So Cody not only now has stopped talking to his dad, it's cemented the fact he wants nothing to do with the wrestling business.
It's similar to the Jake Roberts and his daughter nonsense in it from Beyond the Mat.
But the thing is, with again Jake Roberts briefly, Jake got into wrestling to keep his dad, Grizzly Smith, to win his dad, who was also an alcoholic and a drug abuser, to win his dad's love. And you've got, in Cody Hall, you've got a lad who's sensible enough to realise that some bullshit ain't worth it.
Yeah. There's a breaking point, isn't there, at the end of the day? And he doesn't want none of that shit. He wants a normal life. Whether he gets into wrestling later on or not, who knows? He's still only, 20, 21, something like that?
Let's if we can, just briefly, let's have a look at the way and locations that wrestlers have died. You get all the Johnny Do-Gooders who go, oh, it's the drugs and it's the lifestyle and Vince doesn't help and all this, that and the other. But let's have a look at a lot. I'm going to have a look anyway at a few of them. Mick obviously will pipe in with any he can remember and that springs into his head. Sherry Martel went to stay at her mum's, went upstairs to bed, fell asleep and never woke up. Cause of death, drug addiction. Rick Rude, having a nap on the couch. Cause of death, cocaine overdose. Kay Hennon, heart attack. Cause of death, overdose of cocaine. Brian Pillman, how did he go?
I can't remember, to be honest, dude.
But cocktail of drugs.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero died with his toothbrush in his mouth from a heart attack from 22 years of drinking drug addiction.
How long had he been clean at that point? A couple of years, really?
2-3 years, yeah. Maybe longer.
I think most people in the world have dabbled with some sort of illegal substance, whether it be cocaine, whether it be, a little cheeky joint or whatever. But each and every, this is not a drug rant or anything, but it just goes to show that each and every everything you put in your body that shouldn't be there fucks you up.
Yeah.
How many of it comes down to, you finish a show at 11 o'clock at night.
You're on an adrenaline high.
Yeah, you've got to leave. You've got to be in the next state or the next city at 7 o'clock in the morning. You'll have one of the lads will be driving, and he won't drink, or he'll only have a couple.
Yeah.
So you'll go and get bladdered.
Yeah. So you sleep in the car.
Sean Waltman, 1, 2, 3 kid, X-Pac, 6-pack, whatever you want to call him. He's on this little documentary, and he says people just come up to you and hand you drugs. If you're getting handed anything that you like, you're gonna take it.
It's free.
Yeah, you're gonna take it. You're gonna keep it for later. You're gonna fucking go right to the bottom.
Excuse me.
fucking snorted or injected or whatever. And
something else to add on to that, and when Sean Waltman says it, and they're talking about Sean and Scott, and you haven't heard anything about Kevin Nash, whether he did stuff.
Oh.
Right, but I don't know if a lot of people know this. Triple H is a complete teetotaler.
I didn't know he didn't drink.
He doesn't drink. He doesn't drink. Doesn't do drugs. Anything like that. He's not. I wouldn't say he's straight edge.
He'll have a bevy.
Yeah,
occasionally. Yeah.
But Hunter was always the designated driver of the clique.
Mm.
So if you've got a constant designated driver,
who you know will get you to where you need to be on time,
and who will keep you alive,
it's
in Scott and Sean's case. A lot of the times, Kevin Nash and Paul Levesque kept them two alive, kept Sean and Scott alive.
Well, Hunter and Sean fell out for 18 months.
Yeah, because of
Sean's behaviour.
Sean, again, if you don't know the backstory, Sean was addicted to prescription drugs. Well, apparently, but this ESPN documentary, obviously, Scott Hall's kind of let slip that it must be more than prescription. But anyway, and basically they had a falling out. Sean turned up to do like a guest spot on Raw, and he turned up drugged up to the eyeballs. Hunter, who wasn't married to Stephanie at the time, but still was regarded as a very senior member of the roster, and The Undertaker, I think it was, both went to Vince and went, Sean can't work.
Yeah,
and they sent Sean home. And Sean, in a drug-fueled rant, blamed Hunter, told him where to go, basically told him what he thought of him, and said he'd never speak to him again. And then Sean met Rebecca, and the rest is history. I am I know we've been banging on for about 20 minutes about it, so it's a bit strange for me to say I'm speechless. It is like I was watching The Wrestler, the movie.
That's exactly how they
that's how they portrayed it. Yeah, he's a real life.
There's a little round table at the beginning of it.
Yeah,
and one of the fellas on the little round table just says Scott Hall is the living epitome of Mickey Rourke's character in The Wrestler. You know, I think you've got to watch it to understand how sad and pathetic he looked.
Do you know I think that's the most apt word to describe Scott Hall. Pathetic.
And don't get me wrong, you know, there are wrestlers in the 50s who are still wrestling. I think it's shit that they haven't got the money to stop, or they think they can still go.
To be honest with you, I think it's the buzz. I think it's the adrenaline kick.
With Ric Flair, it's the money.
With Ric Flair, it's the money. With Hogan, right? With Hogan, it's not the money. I think it's the another case in point. I'm going to compare it to professional footballers back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Pro footballers, when they retired, went to run a pub, went to run a farm. Mick Shannon went to run a stable. Mickey Quinn's doing the same. Footballers now. Who? Oh yeah, Michael Owen's Manchester United's number 7 striker.
Yeah.
You don't see him much. He tweets a lot. About the Michael Owen, but he tweets a lot, but he doesn't tweet on match days because he's not allowed to from his position in the stands because he never gets picked.
Anywho,
at the Michael Owen abuse at will.
Yeah, so nuts.
But the comparison I was trying to make before Michael Owen sidetracked me. Is that now footballers, when they retire, what do they do? What is Wayne Rooney going to do when he retires from football?
Now, considering
when the lights go out at Old Trafford for the last time, and those boots are put away in that bag, pro wrestling is the only sport where you can carry on literally until you drop dead. Footballers, 40...
Stop getting picked, don't they?
They stop getting picked. Yeah, you know, rugby players, Lewis Moody, the England captain, has just announced his international retirement at 33 to keep his club career going. Cricketers, American football, baseball, basketball, everyone announces the retirement.
You'll get the odd one, won't you? You'll get the odd
freak
one
of nature.
there, yeah.
Boxing, Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah.
The reinstated WBC champion.
Good shout, WBC.
yeah, did the right thing. You know when it's over.
I think that there's a slight difference with the footballers from the 60s and 70s and even 80s. Just the sheer amount of wages footballers are on now. Any non-UK residents, any non-football fans, some footballers are now earning $250K a week.
Right, for our American, that we're talking sterling. So if anyone's listening in the States, you're talking about $400,000 a week.
And considering they work 3.5 days of training,
3.5 days, yeah,
maybe 2 matches a week, usually 1.
And then they complain about 2 matches a week because they're tired.
Yeah.
And players get rested, seriously.
You look at baseball, they play
182 games.
Basketball, they do the same. Not that many, but
yeah, it's about 86, 90 games a season.
Footballers play 55.
American football's 16 regular games, but again, because of the high impact, they have a week between games, similar to rugby union, rugby league. Football, yeah, they do play 2, sometimes 3 games in a week, because nowadays football's not as high an impact sport.
Yeah, you can't fucking touch anybody in football.
So for those type of sportsmen, they get that high once a week. They get that adrenaline rush once, twice a week. Golf is different. They've got to get that rush 2 to 4 days a week. Tennis seems to have an endless calendar. Pro wrestling, the top guys have to get that high 300 days a year. And it gets to the point where there's only one way you're going to get that high. And it is through the bag. It's through a pill. It's through something. And I'd like to think with Scott Hall we're seeing the last of a dying breed. Pun intended. Because tragically, some wrestlers I love have gone. Some wrestlers I couldn't abide have gone. Through the hard-ass lifestyle pro wrestlers live to acquire that same high in a house show in Battle Creek, Michigan that they get at WrestleMania or at Bound for Glory or ECW, at the Hammerstein Ballroom. And ultimately it's sad. It is sad. And in 18 minutes, ESPN
puts a lot into perspective.
Yeah, I think in 18 minutes, ESPN beautifully summed up what this business can do.
And has done to numerous. I think it's definitely worth a watch. If you can take 20 minutes out your day, then I definitely would watch it. I'm going to watch it again because before I was shocked and I was appalled. I want to watch it a little bit less objectively now.
To be honest, probably after this podcast, I'll be throwing it on. And we'll sit and Mick and I will probably discuss this for weeks.
Yeah, it's pathetic. It's nasty. It's I don't blame his son for not wanting to speak to him anymore. They were having a good little, it was a couple of months where they were training. He was looking, it shows you a little bit, and he's in the gym with them, and he's looking okay. And his son's.
Cody done his first indie show, hasn't he?
Yeah, he goes to his first indie show. He comes out good.
Brighter,
yeah. Not like when you first see him. It turns out that the show he did is not something we've mentioned on air.
We're about to come to it, yeah.
At the beginning, it shows him coming out of this show, and it turns out later on in the programme, he got out of hospital at 6 o'clock that morning after having a seizure. Some bellend in the some bad bellend in the audience when he's on the mic shouting, "Oh, so you've had a relapse again, have you?" And he's like, "Actually, no, it's a seizure." But he's dead frail and he's falling over, and it's just disgraceful.
The other thing we haven't mentioned is the promoter.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, the promoter. They're doing an interview with him, and I understand from a business point of view what he's saying, but he's talking about another fucking human being, and he goes, "Scott Hall's not my friend. I'd promised people Scott Hall was going on, so we were damn sure going to make him go on." And X-Pac, Scott Hall's lifelong friend, sums it up beautifully. And I believe, pardon the language, he calls the promoter a worthless cunt or a fucking cunt or something like that.
It's something like that.
And it's basically he's saying, I don't give a shit what type of state he was in.
He wasn't prepared to give refunds.
He was getting back in because he didn't want to give refunds. Because he had his biggest crowd of 450.
Yeah.
And 440 of them were coming to see Scott Hall.
Yeah.
And he didn't see Scott Hall. He seen some drugged up old man who just got out of hospital and flew to another fucking part of the country.
Mm. He tried to justify Scott Hall because apparently when he met him at the airport, Scott Hall was in a wheelchair, and the first thing Scott Hall said is, "Where's my money?" Now, I've got an insight on the wrestling business. I've been backstage at shows. Wrestlers turn up. It doesn't matter where they're drugged up, they're drunk, they're Ric Flair, or they're Colt Cabana. Every time they get off the plane, the first words out of their mouths at an indie show is, "Where's my money?"
Because they get stiffed that often.
Yeah. So,
because you think about it, you can have, say, you could have won $50,000. You're a wrestling fan. You want to put on a show. You get one big name who's not wrestling as much anymore, or isn't with a major company anymore, and you get a few of the local talent. You can offer the big wrestler some money.
Yeah.
You only sell 35 tickets.
You're running at a loss.
You're running at a loss. So you don't want to give him his 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever you've promised him. You stiff him. You fuck off before the show ends.
A lot of British shows here, a lot of British talent don't get paid, so the Yanks do. And that's another bullshit one. It's an absolute bullshit one. But again, it's a lot of heartbreak. It's a lot of, controversy. It's a lot. But it's a subject that needed to be broached. It's a subject that needed to be done. ESPN did it brilliantly. I don't know if we've done it as good justice. But as always, let us know.
What's our email address, Ant?
It's thirtyminutepipebomb@hotmail.co.uk. I did get an email today. It was off someone to let us know that we have got relatives who died tragically in a plane crash in Thailand.
Oh, shit.
And they've left us $72 million.
How do we get it?
What we need to do, we need to email one of our bank details over. Yeah,
I'll do that.
So they can store it in our account. Okay. They will take a 20% handling fee, but we will get the rest.
That's fair.
But yeah, so...
Did they mention anything about the podcast by any chance?
They didn't know why that we did a podcast. They just knew that we had relatives in Thailand. Now, there could be one of the five of us, maybe all five of us. So do we get 72 million each?
Did all our relatives go on holiday to Thailand without telling us?
No, they were living out there. And they died tragically.
I mustn't be any mark. I don't know anyone who lives in Thailand.
But yeah, if please email us. Don't tell us we've won millions of dollars in the Nigerian lottery or things like that. Yeah, unless it's true. But please, feedback, 30minutepipebomb@hotmail.co.uk. At McKenna76, at Mick Stocko, at Big Obone 13, at Shanners 007, at TarPJ. And do you own any kind of device that's named after a fruit? Are we allowed to advertise on here? It's our show, fuck it. If you got an Apple device, iPod, iMac, iPhone.
Are you related to the iMac?
iPad. I don't know. I'll check that up.
I'll go. Be your relative.
Yeah, it could be. If you own any device that starts with the word I, except iGrass, okay, which is actually a type of artificial football pitch now, sports pitch. Anyway, that's another. If we ever start doing rugby league podcasts, sorry, by me. Yeah, if you own a device that starts with a little I, iPod, iPad, iMac, iPhone,
iPad 2, iPhone 4S,
yeah, iPhone 4 GSK with a 2.4 litre engine.
Give a fuck. Anyway,
I got a BlackBerry. Anyway, you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. We are looking into the possibility of setting up a Facebook page as well, where all these shows will be on there. Please feel free. Once that opens, leave comments on there. Anything you want, leave abuse, we don't care.
It's
constructive abuse. Again, we've run over, not as much, and I know we haven't covered Bound for Glory, we haven't covered James Storm winning the TNA title, we haven't covered Vengeance that's coming up tonight.
You never know, me and Anthony might do another one after this.
You never know, could do, it's been done before. But we felt that the Scott Hall issue needed to be addressed.
It definitely needed to be discussed.
And give our undivided attention to.
It's a shame the others weren't here, because it would have been nice to get like another couple of views on it. But
still,
real life shit takes precedence, unfortunately. And me and Anthony haven't got a life, obviously.
No, I came back all the way from York to do this podcast. It's pathetic. Thanks, work, for not giving me tomorrow off. But no, see, again, this is once we're all around the table again together, I think this is a subject we can come back to. So, from myself, I'm AMAC.
Stop out.
Thanks for listening. Take care.
Take it easy.
Guess who's here? The bad boys arrest me. Testing competition when the war destination.